Hello everyone, this is Genius Yoshi, and today we are building a Sapphire Steel anti-meta deck. Off of last week's video where I analyzed Ruby Amethyst deck and find some of its weaknesses. In particular, the deck has trouble punching over 4, where Madam Fox is kind of a key card, and a lot of the cards in Ruby Amethyst will die in a challenge against a character with 3 power. So let's start with that, and start with some of the powerful cards against this strategy. Well, we have Jafar Royal Vizier, who is actually a pretty good threat because it can take out Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer. While being a 2-drop, you don't lose a lot by having Jafar on the battlefield. He's good combat presence, good against aggro. His main weakness is Fire the Cannon, Grab Your Swords, and those steal spells that are a little bit out of the meta right now in favor of other cards, mostly because the meta is so dominated by Ruby Amethyst. So Jafar is in a decent state. Oh, we also want to be careful about Let the Storm Rage On, but again, that has been pushed off of the meta a little bit. Then we want to enable... Actually, let's go for some more 3-powered characters. We have access to the Dreadnought, so the evolution of Jafar, which we'll be playing in 3 copies. It's not as nice in terms of a defensive card because it's a 4-drop and it costs a lot to put into play. But against these smaller type of strategies, getting a card off of each of these combats, if you can get 1 card out of the Dreadnought and get 2 trades, then you're up 1-2 cards. It's just a lot of good value, and it's proven itself to be quite good. Let's look at a 5-drop slot. In particular, we want Maleficent Uninvited, because that 3/6 stat line is exactly where we want it to be. Maleficent Uninvited just stands her ground against Madam Fox and against a lot of these other non-Maui threats that Ruby Amethyst is going to place in front of us. Also, she quests for 3, which allows us to close out the game fairly quickly. Now, looking for other 5 willpower characters, we have Aurora, 3/5 again, very good stats against Madam Fox, so we're going to be playing a full playset of Miss Aurora over here. And as we get higher up the curve, we are playing Steel, and Tinkerbell still has the stuff. The enter the battlefield pinging everything for 1. Well, I don't need to explain how strong Tinkerbell is. She also has that 5th point of willpower, which is pretty strong. We're going to be playing 3 copies of Cinderella Stouthearted. Even though we're not going to be playing a lot of songs in this deck, the 5/5 resist 2 stats line for 7, or if we can shift her for 5, super solid. Quests for 3, so she can end games pretty fast. We're going to be playing 2 copies of Hades as a nice big top-end removal spell to close out the game, but our real game closer is going to be Mr. Tamatoa over here. 5/8 for 8, very difficult to take out with steel removal spells or Madam Min style combat. Even Maui doesn't stand against Tamatoa. And single target removal spells are a little bit rarer in the metagame lists. We're seeing a bit less Dragonfires in favor of all of these combat-based removal that Ruby Amethyst is playing. Steel is still playing with Let the Storm Rage On. Tamatoa just hides under the sea, takes 2 damage, and doesn't care so much. I know I just contradicted myself. I said that the card's getting pushed out of the meta, and then I just said it's part of the meta. Let me know in the comments below which version of Genius Yoshi is right. The first 2 minutes Yoshi or the current Yoshi? As we move on, so now we have our top-end threats, where all of them have more than 4 willpower, so they withstand Madam Fox. And we have Jafar to deal with those pesky Minnie Mouse. We also said that Smash is in a very good spot right now. Just a deal 3 damage type of spell, deals with a lot of cards in the metagame. So we're going to be including a full playset of Smash to help us deal with these threats. Again, Madam Fox, Minnie Stylish Surfer. I know I'm focusing a lot on Ruby Amethyst, but oftentimes when you're building an anti-meta deck, you have to target you have to look at the top decks in the metagame and target one or two of them. If you try to target them all, well, you're going to fail because these decks are all proven to be strong, effective, and yeah, you can find holes in one. And if you try to counter those holes, well, you're probably opening yourself up to weaknesses from the other strategies. But we'll see. We'll still try to make the list solid by itself, and we'll be targeting those weaknesses from Ruby Amethyst. So another thing that we want to do is the ramp, which is why we're going so heavy on these 5-drops. Also, all of these are inkable except the 2 copies of Hades, hence the 2 copies. So we can ink them early, play them in the middle to late game. In terms of ramping, our fastest option is probably One Jump Ahead, which we are going to be playing a full playset of. If I can click the button enough times. We're also going to be playing 3 copies of Gramma to sing it, 3 copies of Miss Cinderella Knight in Training as a shifting target, and as a way to improve our hand, really. And one of the points of these characters is if we're going after all of these big top-end threats, we put ourselves to the weakness of Lady Tremaine. So having a small, cheap character that gives us a benefit when it dies, Gramma Tala, is very good to just disincentivize the opponent playing Lady Tremaine and force them into another line of answer. So we do want some of these cheaper drops. We are playing the 4 copies of Jafar, so that's probably enough for 2 drops. Looking at 3s, some Mickeys. We're going to be playing a pair of Mickeys. Lately I've been finding that the first Mickey is awesome and great, but drawing a Mickey into the mid to late game when you really want to play that 7-drop and you can't afford to go Mickey and 2-drop, kind of a lackluster turn. So I'm not as high on this card lately, but it's still very strong, and if you can hit it early game, on turn 3 it's one of the strongest plays you can make, unless you're super far behind the board. But right now, metagame is more mid-rangey, unless you're facing these super aggressive decks. But we're not targeting the super aggressive decks, we're targeting mid-rangey, control-ish style decks where we want to pressure them and essentially avoid a lot of their threats. Alright, so what are we at? 44. Some good early games, some nice ramping options. Gramma, 1 Jump Ahead, Mickey. Have some options in 3, some nice late games. So now we're looking at what we're missing. And what we're missing is card draw. So in terms of card draw, we're talking Sapphire, so we cannot deny Mr. Hiram Flaversham. It's going to be our main source of card draw power. And in particular, I probably kind of spoiled it by playing the Tamatoas. Now, so we were looking for a 4-drop because we only had the Jafar. So Hiram Flaversham fills that hole very well, with the condition that we need to be playing some artifacts, some items, sorry. The main one being Popsicle, because Popsicle is free. So full play set. Actually, even without Flaversham and without Tamatoa, there's a good argument to be playing 4 copies of Popsicle just to heal our Maleficent Uninvited, heal our Cinderella Stouthearted if she ever takes some damage, which with the resist 2 doesn't happen that often. Alright, so we're going to be playing 2 Magic Golden Flowers, just rounding up our items, 2 Scepters of Arendelle, and we're going to spread them around so that we have more options at our disposal if we draw multiple. We want the cheap items mostly. We're going to be playing a pair of Mouse Armors. And to wrap things up, and we were talking ramp, pair of Fishbone Quills. So that brings us to healthy 2, 6, 8, 10, 12 items, which is probably good enough to support Flaversham and a bit of Tamatoa. I mean, Tamatoa questing for 2 or 3 is enough with this strategy. This isn't an item super combo deck. If you want to see an item super combo deck, go look at my aerial combo video. That deck's a lot of fun, a lot of wombo combo. Yes, so this video is sponsored by my old videos apparently, and the comment section below. Please leave a comment saying what you would advertise about my channel. Alright, and so we have our list. We have our list that has ramp, has top ends with more than 4 willpower, has items, some card draw, some nice threats that are going to end the game, and we hit for 3 with the Jafars and the Smash. And the list is as anti-meta as I can make it, targeting Ruby Amethyst. So all that remains is to bring the deck into action with some games and see what we can do. We are playing against Amber Ruby. Alright. This seems like an okay hand. We probably don't need the second Jafar. We're going to ink the Tamatoa. Seems alright. Seems alright. Find a Smash. Was hoping for a Ruby Amethyst opponent to kick things off. But I can't just loop games forever until I find one. I mean, I probably could, but at some point I do want to be recording some content. And I'm having some fun with the games, which is also part of the experience. Start by inking one of those Tamatoa. We'll pass the turn. We'll keep that magic golden flower. Maybe we need to ink it at a later point in time. Ruby Amber, probably Mufasa style list, as we see a Maleficent and a BB Mufasa on the battlefield. Ooh, 1 jump ahead. That's a nice pickup. I'll ink Cinderella for now. Play the Gramma and pass the turn back. Oh, Gramma Tala. The Storyteller. Or the Storyteller. The Doc goes to the ink. Peter Pan. Alright. 3-2 rush. So I can highlight Peter Pan. Don't see that card every day. Let's sing 1 jump ahead. Sing it. Going to be able to cast a 4-drop next turn. How much do I care about Peter? Not so much. Actually, we'll be able to cast a 5-drop next turn. Maybe we go Jafar with the shifting possibility. We can shift Jafar, Smash, Maleficent, depending on what the opponent does. Mother Gato. There's Mr. Jafar. Opponent decides to shift into Mr. Stitch Rockstar. A very threatening card. I'm quite happy to have Jafar on the battlefield. Ooh, actually the shift Jafar into Smash is going to be perfect here. Perfect and necessary. Oh, there's a Simba. Gotta be careful about that Simba. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be very imperfect. I can draw a card off of the Simba by shifting Jafar, or I can smash it. No, I'm better hitting Simba, smashing the Stitch. Or just dropping Maleficent. No, I think I need that card. Alright, let's shift. Let's go Jafar Dreadnought. See what we find. Tackling that little lion. We find a Popsicle. Popsicle is also a nice one. We could heal Jafar. I really like healing Jafar here. Let's do that. Oh, and we find a 1 jump ahead, which we can just hardcast. I'm happy with that pickup. Popsicle for the heal effect. And we'll quest. Alright. Big Bad Snake. Loves some good old ice cream. Is a popsicle ice cream? If you haven't posted a comment below, let me know. Do you think popsicles are ice cream? Or they're completely different? Or they're similar enough? If you haven't posted a comment below, because, I mean, I've been asking quite a few times in this video. If you think it's been too often, let me know in the comments. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Ooh, that hurts. Rapunzel. Heal Stitch for 3, draw 3 cards. Thought your popsicles were good, eh, genius? Genius Yoshi. It's not good enough. Alright. Well, maybe it's not good enough, but Mr. Hades will take care of your rock star before too much damage is done. Although we did do some damage to our opponent's ink, well, to our ink advantage, I should say, by giving your opponent 2 ink to add to their pool. Hades is still a fantastic card. Infernal Schemer. Removal on a stick with a downside. Okay, it always depends on what the downside is. I have to be careful. Our opponent is starting to get pretty high on lore with that 8. They're just in our measly 2. That card draw, though. I was afraid of a Stitch card draw, but it's the long-haired princess that I had to worry about. Maui Peter. Alright, take an extra point of ink. That Maui's problematic. And so is Rapunzel. Actually, all of our opponents' board, except for that Peter Pan. I mean, what do I do here? I think I mouse armor on the Hades, tackle Rapunzel, so that Maui can take out Hades next turn. And we're sticking with a mouse armor. As long as the opponent doesn't have another Rapunzel, that line should be okay. The extra armor from the mouse armor does a great deal of difference. Difference between life and death for Mr. Hades there. Although since he is the king of the underworld, it's difference between death and different type of death. Different type of death. Maleficent dragon. All that targets Maleficent. The non-dragon form is clearly inferior. And that extra ink from Hades is coming back to bite us. Tinkerbell is a nice pickup here. I'm going to play this character, draw a card and discard. Might as well. Not sure what we could pick up that's better. Certainly not a Gramma Tala. Alright. Well, another Tinkerbell would be great. Fun quest for 4. You're in very troublesome territory. And the opponent goes with the big vanilla Stitch. Can we stop the opponent? Questing for 4. I don't think so. I do not think so. Yes, we can. We have to take out Maleficent. Take out the small Stitch. Okay, so we go here. Challenge Rapunzel. Take her out. Ping the small stitch. I should have used the mouse armor, but it doesn't really matter. Send Cinderella to fight the dragon. I mean, she's a knight after all. And smash the dragon. And I'll live to play another turn. But it should be my last turn. I need the opponent to whiff on a character. We need to top deck our second copy of Hades. We find the Fishbone Quill. So we're going to play it. And scoop. Not quite enough. It seems we mostly got outpaced this game. The card draw from Rapunzel and the threat of Stitch Rockstar were just a bit too much to handle. And that's what happens when you target a specific deck. Other decks that are playing different types of stats don't necessarily line up with your game plan, and you can get outpaced like this. Good learning experience based on the deck list. I do not regret this defeat. Or do I? We are playing against a steel amethyst. Alright, maybe it's not ruby amethyst, but we'll see what we can do against that deck. After all, we're not going to be playing only against that one archetype all day long. So our deck needs to be able to take out some other types of adversaries. This seems like an okay hand. I'd really like a 2-drop. And we don't find one. We're gonna ink one of these Jafars and we'll have to pass the turn for lack of an option. Turn 2 is going to be one jump ahead unless we miraculously top deck one of our faithful 2-drops. When it inks a Tink. Here comes Captain Hook. So the opponent's on the defensive as well. The opponent's going on the defensive. So we ink our Fishbone Quill. Simply go one jump ahead. Hard cast. Jump to 3 ink. Let's see what our opponent's going to do. Hook's not a great quester. As the opponent plays a second copy of the Captain of the Jolly Roger. Find an item. Don't really want it with this hand, so we're going to ink it, play a Mickey. Just keep on ramping. If the opponent's not doing very much, then ramping is one of the strongest things you can do. Establish your game plan, punish the opponent, win the game. Seems like a winning strategy. Hercules. Ooh, we find a popsicle. That is a nice pickup. So here, Tinkerbell is quite interesting. I don't think we need that smash. So let's ink our smash and play the Tinkerbell. Ping everything for 1. Still a solid card. As we're playing the deck, like if Rise of Floodborn doesn't exist, Madman Dragon goes to the ink. That's an interesting card to see. Fun card to play. Not the best, but it's pretty fun. Ooh, Big Herc. That's interesting. I'll need a refresher on Mr. Hercules. Powerhouse form. Hercules, Divine Hero. 6-3, resist 2, quest 4-2. Now, at 1 point of damage, he still dies to Tink. They're still somewhat troublesome stats. Also, he doesn't have Bodyguard. It's like they say in Zero to Hero. This is more like a Honkules. Opponent is pondering what to do with Hercules and a gang of Captain Hooks. Find another Tinkerbell. Dropping the other Tinkerbell kills both Captain Hooks, but Hercules is still a problem. I think I'd much rather just send Tinkerbell to trade with Hercules, ping a Captain Hook, and have Mickey take out a Hook. That seems like a very solid game plan. Make you pay for exerting those Captain Hooks. Then we can go Popsicle. One jump ahead. Not really what I want here. Then we'll get a resolve in Aurora, giving our Mickey a much deserved ward, which is going to be somewhat useless. This steel tends to play more board wide type of damage spells. Ooh, and there's a beast coming in. That's a dangerous card. Although we do have the Tinkerbell for it. So let's deal some damage to the beast. That way the beast doesn't get to draw any cards. Don't really want to exert my Aurora. Mickey can get exerted. And that's fine. Because Beast gains a bunch of power when he's damaged. I don't want to lose Aurora to Beast and not take it down. Mr. Beast. Tragic hero. So he's a 7-5 on the offense. Quite scary stats. It's a strong card. I understand why there's a pretty large price tag on it. What is that right now? $50? Canadian? Whole new world. I should have seen that one coming. The opponent sings it with the beast and makes me regret not inking a card, or at the very least singing one jump ahead with Mickey last turn. They're still looking great. I mean, Tinkerbell has a wonderful challenge on the beast. You can take it out and ping something for 2 and have Tinkerbell live. So that was the cost of singing that power song. Especially with a mouse armor in hand. No, Benja! Taking out our faithful Popsicle that I was planning on using to heal our Tinkerbell. Oh well. Fishbone Quill. Not exactly what I'm looking for here. So we're going to ink it. Can land a Cinderella. Cinderella is quite a threat against steal amethyst. Well, let's go for the challenge. Take out the beast. It's a problematic card. Ping the Tinkerbell. Drop a big Cinderella. What can our opponent play that would be dangerous? Shift the Tinkerbell. Do a challenge. Challenge Mickey. Take out Tinkerbell. Yeah, that's alright. We need to start questing. So let's start now. The other option was to go for something like mouse armor and a magic golden flower and heal up our Tinkerbell. Which is also an interesting possibility. But with this new hand of double Cinderella, it just feels like we should be putting them into play. And it's going to make our opponent's lives just that much more difficult. Although now that I look at it, Tinkerbell did have a challenge on Aurora. Oh no, she can't ping. Because of Aurora's ward, she can only ping Aurora. So maybe take down Aurora and then ping Tinkerbell. Now we're going to have either Tinkerbell or Aurora live. The Dreaming Guardian's ability comes into play. Opponent chooses to take out Tinkerbell. I mean, talk about a resistant card. We have Cinderella as a 5/5 ward, quest for 3, resist 2. It's about as strong as it gets. Here we're gonna ink a Scepter. Character's already hit for enough. Play a Magic Golden Flower that we'll eat later with a Flaversham, and drop a second Cinderella. As we get a quest. And that's the thing with high stats card. It's not that we did so much this game. We didn't go wombo combo. We just played a bit of ramp while the opponent gave us the opportunity. Then we drop very strong threats that some of these smaller cards just can't deal with them. Like that Madam Snake just looks puny in the face of our Cinderellas and our Aurora. The opponent can take out Aurora with the Madam Snake, which is alright. But we still have a pair of Cinderellas that are just going to keep on questing. And in this matchup in particular, grab your sword, useless against our Cinderellas. You really need Be Prepared. And our opponents can't be playing Be Prepared unless they're cheating. Find a small Cinderella, gonna ink it. And we're gonna keep on playing the big guns with Tamatoa, picking back up our Popsicle. So this is almost like an Ursula. Draw a card, and he threatens the quest for a lot. Who says you need to commit to playing full throttle items when you're playing items? You can just splash a couple of Tamatoas with some Popsicles, handful of other items, and your deck is set for the late game. Opponent's playing some Goat, getting some ink one at a time. Tinkerbell comes in to tickle us a little bit. So much resist, so much success. On quests with the Goat, just the mana quest, trying to get as much as they can. As we're going to hand out the well played. 3 for Tamatoa, 3 for Cinderella, and that's game. As we destroy our opponent thanks to the overwhelming power of our top end curve enders. We're playing against Amber Steel with our Sapphire Steel mix. Find one jump ahead, pair of Jafars. Amber Steel has the removal for the Jafars. I'm not overly fond of them. Gramma is a nice pickup though. We're going to aim to ink. Actually, let's aim to ink the Jafars. Probably don't want to go all the way up to Tamatoa. Not yet. Second jump, one jump ahead. Could be a blessing or a curse, depends on how the game plays out. Can ink up a Jafar. One's going for Cinderella. We want to avoid the classic 1-2 punch of Cinderella and let the storm rage on. As a Sleepy's Flute comes in. Find another copy of Flaversham. Two's too many. So we're going to ink one. Play the Gramma. And see if the opponent wants to sacrifice something to give us ink. It's always the trade-off with the Gramma Talas. Typically you just let them live until they become troublesome. Opponent decides to let the storm rage on. No Grammas for us. Song has been played, so Sleepy's flute just plays a nice little melody of +1 lore. Alright, well if that's the way you're gonna play it, we're gonna super ramp. Ariel comes in. Another storm coming up. Alright, we find a Tinkerbell. It's going to be quite useful. We're going to sacrifice our turn to go double jump ahead. If the opponent goes whole new world, then we're all set ink-wise. If the opponent doesn't, then we have a pair of Tinkerbells with our opponent's face on it, name on it. Ooh, that hurts. You have forgotten me, the discard spell. It's a nice deck against Ruby Amethyst, and actually hurts us quite a bit in this particular position. Opponent is sitting with Let the Storm Rage On. And maybe that's the new way of playing Amber Steel. Go for some discard. Let's keep on adding to our ink pool. That Gramma's not going to do too much else in this matchup anyways. We always have to be cognizant of Let the Storm Rage On. Whole new world. Try to get some good value out of it. Opponent plays a beast. We're going to respond with a second Tinkerbell. And at this point, I don't like questing with Tinkerbell, because Beast can trade nicely, as in right now if Beast quests, we have a very nice counterattack. So we'll just indulge in the stalemate. Both players just looking at each other. The opponent does have the Sleepy's Flute, which we can't leave unchecked for too long. One storm rages on, pings a Tinkerbell. We'll let all that madness ends once we get to play our Dreaming Guardian next turn. Draw this card for the opponent. Opponent discards a Grab Your Sword. Wise choice. Find a Maleficent. Alright, so in this situation I do like going Dreaming Guardian. And we will take out the Tinkerbell. Well, we'll let the opponent take out this Tinkerbell, because I really want to get rid of that Cinderella and remove the threat of the opponent playing a big Cinderella. If you want to play her, you're going to have to reach that 7 ink. Not letting you take a discount on her. Tinkerbell to the ink, which means another Tinkerbell most likely. Ooh! Opponent sings a whole new world. And it's a brand new game. Opponent still has all their ink available. A beastly beast sitting there. Mufasa. Spicy. That's a nice card. We have a pair of Tamatoas. We don't have any items in the discard though. This particular situation, I like inking Jafar and landing a big threat. And here I find Cinderella might be a bigger threat. We can land the Scepter. If we quest with the squad, Mufasa's going to trade for something. Beast can kill something. Well, Beast trades against the Tinkerbells. Maybe I want to take out the aerial. The aerial is a bit of a problem. So let Tinkerbell trade with aerial. Deal a bit of damage to that beast. Quest with the rest of the squad. Call it a turn. Big Threats is the name of the game. As we're not playing the usual big songs of steel, but just landing threat after threat. Rapunzel comes in. Draw 3 and get Beast back in shape. Now that's a good personal trainer. Opponent is flooding in cards. Has a nice board, but our board is a bit more oppressive, thankfully. Depends on what that Mufasa is going to roll into. That's probably the key variable at this point. So Doc comes in. A little bit afraid of a grab your sword. Mufasa just quests for 2. Alright, well if that's how you want to play it. Gonna ink a small Cinderella. I can play a popsicle. Ooh. Can give ward to all our board. Probably not the most useful thing though. I think we want to heal our Tinkerbell. And just land more threats. Land at Tamatoa. Pick back up the popsicle. And just pressure our opponent. Going for a large round of questing. 13. And it's up to you to respond. Do have cards for days. I'm slightly afraid of a double grab your sword. Short of that, the opponent's going to have to make concessions because these aren't the biggest beaters on the squad. Tinkerbell comes in. Has to be a follow-up grab your sword, which will take out both of our Tinkerbells. If there isn't, then I think we simply win. Also, the opponent has to worry because even if the Tinkerbells and Aurora are out, Cinderella plus Tamatoa with 3 items would win the game for us. And Tamatoa is no easy crab to crack his shell. Ooh, no grab your sword. Opponent goes in manually to take out the Tinkerbells. It's a very good sign for us. Shiny crab. Venge to the ink. 2 ink left. And perhaps some songs. So the opponent can't target anything except Aurora. And now's the time for the Mufasa roulette. Mufasa roulette. Can you hit a Tinkerbell? It's about the best thing our opponent can hit. Small Cinderella. Not going to cut it. Aurora fights. Doc fights. Maybe the opponent lives. Have to hit the other way around though. Because that is just game. Let's see if we find the extra item. We do. So it would not have mattered. Tamatoa quests for 4, and the Cinderella wraps up the game as the deck overpowers Steel Amber, at the very least in this game. I do want to give credit to Amber Steel songs, still a very strong deck. We had some nice gameplay there, and our big threats were, well, they go over to grab your sword and make it very difficult for opponents' removal to line up, especially if we play around the early Let the Storm Rage On by inking the Jafars, and our ramp got us there. We are playing against Ruby Amethyst with our anti-Ruby Amethyst deck. Let's see if it does the job. We have a Jafar, one jump ahead, a bigger Jafar, bunch of uninkables I'm not too fond of. Just going to send Mouse Armor and Hades back into the deck because we don't need them right away. The rest of the hand is fine. And we're going first, which is a big advantage. Let's begin by inking our Cinderella. Since it's Ruby Amethyst, we'll want to land turn 4 Flaversham. So let's land the Magic Golden Flower. Get it all ready to be eaten. Opponent lands an Olaf. Fishbone Quill. Have enough ramp with this hand, so we're just going to land a Jafar and pass the turn back. Because the other option was to just hardcast one jump ahead for turn 3 Flaversham. Would have been okay play. For now, we'll land Jafar, either forcing a Teats and Ambition, or having a potential answer for a later Minnie Mouse. Opponent's going to go for a Madam and Snake. Otherwise, they're giving us some pretty nice Dreadnought fodder. There's the snake as foretold. Olaf has served its purpose. We find ourselves a big Cinderella. Alright, well, we definitely want to sing one jump ahead. We need to ink one of these two. I think I'm going to ink the big Cinderella just because it's a little early. And let's smash that Madam Min and pass the turn back. Stuff is lining up as designed, Smash being the perfect removal spell. Opponent sends that Olaf back into hand, and Minnie Mouse comes into play with a weakness against Jafar. Alright, Smash did its job, and now it's Flaversham time. Mr. Flaversham, get us some card advantage by eating that Magic Golden Flower. Draw 2 cards, double smash. We can ink one of those. I'll just let Jafar there. Jafar can do the trick. We also have a Jafar Dreadnought we can shift if the opponent does something unexpected. For now, Mr. Flaversham gave us a nice bit of card advantage. Not enough to match the Ruby Amethyst side, but we're ahead on ink, especially since we've gone first. And Jafar is keeping that mini at bay. We find a Cinderella Stouthearted. Pretty good pickup. I think we're going to ink the Jafar over here. Land ourselves an Aurora. Giving our other characters a ward. Now the problem potentially here is Maui. So we're just going to pass the turn. Keeping the match at a standstill. Teeth and Ambition goes to the ink because the only thing our opponent can target is Miss Aurora. Friends on the other side to draw some cards. And Minnie goes to quest. Minnie's an expensive bounce back for Madame Min, but does protect her from our Jafar. Alright, so I think that swung the tempo enough in our favor. We can land this big Cinderella here. It's tempting as the smash is. I think we just ink the smash. Play good old big Cinderella. Then we start questing. Opponent might go after the Flaversham. Do have to be careful about Be Prepared, which could be coming down pretty soon. And the opponent almost needs to have it at this point. Maui comes in. One of the threads that our deck can't answer very well. More cards for our opponent. Madame Min trades with Jafar. Trading your 3-drop with bounce for a 2-drop? I like that trade. Pick up a Maleficent. Maui still being a problematic card. Maui has Reckless, so it's going to have to challenge our Cinderella anyway, so we might as well quest with her. We can leave Flaversham unexerted, force to Be Prepared. I think we're forcing it. Our opponent could drop an Ursula or something, and then we'd be forced to land our threats. Just afraid if I play a Maleficent or an Aurora here, and the opponent Be Prepared, that we're just out of resources. So I say we keep the board like that. Maui's going to have to fight Cinderella. The opponent needs something like a Madame Min Fox, bouncing Maleficent to take her out. Be Prepared. And we find a Tamatoa. For now, let's resolve Maleficent. Just have a big 3-quester on the battlefield. Lady Tremaine takes her out quite handily. Fortunately, we didn't have a nice little protector like a Gramma Tala. That's how you want to play it. I'm going to ink an Aurora and go Tamatoa. Let's get our Magic Golden Flower back. So ready for the next Flaversham. Assuming the opponent doesn't have another Lady Tremaine. Merlin Drawer of Cards comes in. Minnie Mouse, opponent's trying to start with some pressure. Find a Cinderella. So whenever Tamatoa quest, we can bring back the item from our hand, from our discard pile to our hand. So we'll play Cinderella. To protect our Tamatoa, we pick up a Gramma, discard a Magic Golden Flower, and Aurora feels like a bit too much, so we're just gonna quest with our big crab. That's one. Pick up the Magic Golden Flower for healing purposes. There's no downside to putting it in play. All right, Flower goes in. 8-6. We are post board wipe number 1. Now the opponent can quest for real. For 5. And there's an Elsa Snow Queen. That is quite unfortunate. Find a Maleficent. At this point, have to land more stuff. Opponent can quest a 19. Maybe I should have played Maleficent to try and pressure more quest. That'll be our turn. 3, 4, 5. Opponent goes to 19. And I guess a go this game? We ran dry on cards a little bit. If we would have drawn a second item with the Tamatoa, I think this would have been closer. Well, it's not terribly off. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opponent board wipes. Opponent's afraid that we Tamatoa combo. And drops a Minnie Mouse. Minnie Mouse for game. That's the way to do it. And Ruby Amethyst takes the game against our anti-Ruby Amethyst. Not too promising, but we put up a good fight. And some of the cards did line up pretty well. We just ran out of steam against their card advantage, at least in this game. I hope that you've enjoyed this video featuring the anti-meta Steel Sapphire deck, featuring some item synergies, some Jafar, some Hiram Flaversham, and one big mistake that I made in deck building, which is including Aurora, because she's 3/5, and then realizing that we're lacking in card draw, while there is this wonderful option of $50 beasts right over here. Mr. Beast Tragic Hero, that also has the nice stats that we're looking for and acts as card draw. So in retrospect, I'd be playing a full playset of Mr. Tragic Hero here and removing the full playset of Aurora. And I think that's a net improvement on the deck list. And maybe we would have won that last game against Ruby Amethyst. Who knows? Only time will tell if you go and try that deck online. Let me know in the comments below how well you're doing against Ruby Amethysts. And yeah, I hope you had fun. You enjoyed the games. You've enjoyed the deck list. And I hope that you'll have a great day. And I will see you next time.